Good morning, it's Wednesday, I'm Wayne. Welcome to Wednesdays with Wayne, brought to you by the Real Estate Business School, where you'll get your license and learn to use it. This is the learn to use it part. Before we get started, the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is thank you for your time. And I do that because a long time ago, a good friend of mine told me the most valuable thing anyone can give you is their time. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you showing up. And you have my commitment. I'll do my best to make sure your time is well spent. Thank you for being here. We live in a capitalist society. If you don't understand capital, you're in trouble. So last time in the last session, we left off right here with ROI. It's a widely misused and misunderstood acronym. And when people say ROI, of course we know what they mean. It's return on investment, but what kind of return? There are so many ways to determine value. So in my mind, I've divided this process of acquiring below market distressed property that's got a high potential for mistakes, because you're going to make them, and returns. You're going to get them. So to me, it's a two-part process. One is determining the value, the current value. And then the other one is measuring the return. So to me, it's two different subjects. So how do we attach value to the asset? And then once you know how to do that, then again we go back to when is your profit made in real estate? Well, it's two parts. Typically the answer is when you buy, but it's not just when you buy. It's when you buy and improve. It's when you buy and add value. You can just buy it below market, but if you're in a pretty good market, if you're in a seller's market, sometimes it's difficult to find properties that make financial sense in a seller's market because they're selling at a premium. And so we've got to figure out another way to do that. To me, it's distressed. I mean, I love distressed property. I'm looking for a problem. Distressed property with distressed sellers. I'm looking for a problem, and the way we get paid is by solving them. The solution is where the money is, whether you're in business or whether you're investing. So to me, it's about buying it right, adding value. And there are several different ways to measure the return on that investment. And that's what we're going to go into. So last week went into cash on cash return. Cash on cash is one of many different ways to measure the return. And we went over it. And I gave you an example. I gave you the definition. I gave you an example. And I told you what it tells you. So if you want to know more, just go to the Real Estate Business School page on YouTube. You'll see over 100 videos there. And you'll have the ability to increase your IQ, financial IQ, at your own pace and your own time. So that's what that's there for. So we left off with this ROI, and then we left off with this time value of money. And the time value of money, to me, is on the building blocks of investing. You've got to know the subject. So there are three parts to time value of money. One is, if you understand this, and it makes your investing decisions a lot easier. So one is risk. The reason that the time value of money is important because we know that one thing it does is mitigate risk. It mitigates risk because we know that money received now has no risk to it versus money you may get later. So one of the attributes of time value of money is it's low risk because, again, money now is you have it. There's no risk. There's no way you can lose money you've already received. So that's one. The other one is increased purchasing power. And this inflationary environment we're in, where our dollar buys less every day, then money now allows you to buy more. You can buy more today than you could yesterday or a year ago, and you're going to buy less today than you're going to be able to buy in the future. You'll be able to buy even less because we have this inflation that keeps making it. It's really not, prices are not just increasing, the dollar is shrinking. That's the problem. And then the last one is the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is simply when you choose, you do your analysis, and this is no science. All I'm trying to do is hedge my bets. How can I stack the odds in my favor so my profit's made at the closing table, not later when I go do something with it? And so if I choose A and A does fairly well, but the one I passed on, B, actually becomes a home run and does better, then my opportunity cost is the delta or the difference between the two. It's the money I lost by doing this one instead of that one. And there's no way to avoid this. You're going to have opportunity cost. You're going to have them personally, you're going to have them professionally, you're going to have them investing. So the goal is not to avoid these, because that's impossible, it's to mitigate them. It's to keep risk low, returns high. If you talk to most people, they're going to tell you that risk and reward are proportional. That risk and reward are proportional, and they're simply not. This is a person who has no idea what they're talking about. They're repeating something someone else said they thought is cool and groovy, and it's neither one. It's just a moron parrot speaking. Enough of that. You have to think for yourself. All these slogans and phrases and this chirping and babbling and psycho babble online, on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all these feeds. You've got to get your facts, figures, and statistics and make your own decisions. So we're going to go into this today. So how do we calculate investments to help us decide how much to pay, what we're going to do with it to increase our success? So to me, it's about the time value of money, which is going to tell you one of two things. So I'm going to keep these notes handy so I can keep myself on track, because sometimes I get excited and go off the reservation. Like I almost did already. And sorry for the earbuds, they always aggravate me. But I'm told it's a microphone, and so it's going to help the audio better for those who watch it later. So bear with me on these, okay? Thank you. What's present value and what might future value be? In other words, what should we pay for a property and what can we sell it for later? So in residential sales, just to backtrack a little bit, it's fairly easy to find value. Most people won't invest because they're fear of loss, because they don't know how to attach value to the asset. And residential real estate is fairly easy because it's sold properties. You have three things when you do a comparable market analysis or an appraisal. These same process, different licenses required to be an appraiser, but the process is the same. What is active? What's the competition? What expired? What died? Didn't sell because it was over-marketed and under-marketed and overpriced? And what was withdrawn because people gave up? So it's active, and then what has sold? And so it's active, expired, sold. Excuse me. Active, expired, sold. Active is the competition. Expired, didn't sell. Sold properties are fair market value. That's the definition. What properties have sold for by a willing qualified buyer and seller, neither being under duress. So you don't want to pay fair market value, you won't buy below market value, so you're looking for distress. That's what we want. But that's the definition. You can find those in your local multiple listing service. So that's why I keep saying to people, get a real estate license. It sounds self-serving, and some level it is, but not if you're not in Texas. Man, I don't care. A few shekels I make on a real estate class is one thing, but the real money is in owning it, not listing it and selling it to someone else. Because if you split a commission with the other broker, you're making 3%. And you're never going to get rich 3% at a time, especially if you're paying your broker, the IRS, and your expenses, which you are and better be, out of that 3. It's just not going to happen. But the goal to me is understanding the difference between cash and cash flow. And once I figured that out, I'm okay. I make my commissions, but I don't spend them, I invest them. This is why I keep telling people, if you save money, you lose it. You can't afford to save money. It's the biggest paradox in the world. I don't have any money, I'm afraid I have enough money, so I'm going to save it. If you save it, you'll lose it, period. If you don't believe me, go check your savings account. It's shrinking. So, that's residential. Sold comparables. What are similar properties that have sold in this nearby geographic area in the last few months? So similar properties in this area at this time. That's how we determine fair market value in residential. In commercial, you're buying money. What you're doing is we're acquiring an asset, hopefully below market, where the future value is going to be much greater than the present value. And we can, it's really interesting because, I mean, basically what we're doing is we take a bucket of money, some of our own, we'll call it equity, then we go get some debt, and then we go acquire this asset, we put a tenant in there, the tenant pays us, we pay the debt, we pay the equity investors, we keep the rest. Hopefully there's enough left over to make it all worthwhile. So to me, that's the goal, it's the process, it's very simple. By buying money, and then money makes money. So you're making money with your money. So you're no longer exchanging labor for money. You get out of the industrial age thinking, which is the mindset that most of us were raised with. Be good, do as you're told, get a good job, work hard, blah, 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 blah. It's a recipe for financial disaster. And we transition from using brawn to using brain. And we start thinking for a living instead of working for a living. And we make money with money, not with labor. So this is how you do it. If you understand time value of money, opportunity cost, risk, and purchasing power, then you can go into compounding and discounting. How do you find the future value of convert present value to future value? How can you determine what the thing might be worth someday? Or how do you find something of future value and convert it to present value so you don't overpay? Because if you pay too much and borrow too much, there's nothing anyone can do for you. And there's a glut of those coming back on the market. These office buildings, the banks are not wanting those back. They're going to get them back because of 70% occupancy, they don't pay for themselves. So we'll go into this. Last week, I showed you, what was it last week? Our last session, when we were going through this, I showed you this T-bar. This is the cash flow model that we use. It's in here somewhere. Oh, we did a lot of work. We covered a lot of ground. All right. Well, here it is. N is time. PV is present value or initial investment. So down payment, the cash required to acquire the property. Then it's payments in between. If it's going out, it's negative. So this is the cash investment in this property. So we'll put brackets around it to indicate it's outgoing. There are no payments coming in. There's future value, and then there's interest or yield. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces to this. If you get 4, you can figure out the 5th one. So in this simple example of compounding, we're going to show you very simply how we're going to take someone else's money, acquire this asset, and calculate the value. So there are several metrics. Cash on cash is 1, and time value of money is 1. This is compounding. How to determine the future value of this investment. This is how you do it. You set this up, and I asked you last week to go buy this calculator, and I hope you did it, because you're going to need it. It's this HP 10B2. So go get a hold of this thing. And you set this thing up, it's very simple. This is compounding. Compounding is you take your investment, at the end of the year, it earns interest. That interest is applied to the principal, and every year you add the interest to the principal. So you have interest on interest, interest on principal, and it compounds every year. This is what Einstein called the 8th wonder of the world, compound interest. If you want to get really, really rich, you understand compound interest. It's money making money, not you making money. So we're going to set this up, and we'll do this calculation. I'll show you how to do this. So first of all is M, which is time. And so if you look at this, the top row here, you can see this. So you see the N up there. Here's the N right here. Here's the interest, IYR. That's at the bottom, that Y down there. Present value is top right, PV, also known as initial investment. This is payment, right there under PV, and then future value. So these will tell us how this works. So what I do is just to get my thoughts organized, get everything down. I'm still kind of, I'm a pen and paper guy at one level. I want this stuff all down so I can see it and I can tell what I'm looking at. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to set the time periods. So if you press Shift clear, you'll see the time periods. And sometimes these are set, like see this one's set on 12 payments per year. Well, our periods are annual, so we want to set it to 1 a year. So we press Shift 1, payments per year, Shift 1, payments per year, and now we have 1 payment per year. There it is. So we can calculate these periods. So let's say that in this calculation, the question is, what is the future value of an investment? So you put $50,000 into an investment. What is it worth? And you're going to hold it for 3 years. There's no cash flow. There are no dividends. It's a 3-year hold. You're parking that money. It's going to pay you a 12% preferred return plus a profit share, 50%. Pretty good deal. 12% preferred plus 50%. 3-year hold, 50,000 in, no payments, no dividends, no cash flow. What's the future value? What is that going to be worth in 3 years? Well, let's go calculate it. I'll show you how easy this is. You take in, and what's in? What's our time? It's 3, right? So you go, hope you can see this. It's 3 in. There it is. Our interest is 12, so we got 12 interest per year. Our present value is $50,000. Is it going out or coming in? It's going out, right? So that needs to be negative. So we press the minus button, we enter it here, and there it shows a negative 50,000. We have 0 payments. We want to calculate future value. 70,246 and change. So this $50,000 investment in 3 years has a future value of 70,246 and change. 246 plus the profit share. Profits estimated to be $6 million. There you go. So now we calculate that, $6 million. It's divided, it's split 50-50, right? Right, because I'm the 50. There's divided by 2 is $3 million. So $3 million, and we have 30 investors. Divided by 30 is $100,000. So 100 added to this is 172.46. That's the future value. So if you take $50,000, this is at 12% preferred return for 3 years, make no payments in the interim, and receive no payments in the interim. There's no cash flow, no dividends. And you split the profits 50-50 and there's $6 million, then your return is 172.46. Now, what was your actual interest? You can actually calculate that. So all you have to do is go back in here and go back to N, 3N, and put that in. And your interest per year, we're going to calculate, so we'll leave it blank. Our present value is $50,000 minus, right? So we put that in. Payments were 0. Future value is 170,246. Let's put that in, and let's solve. So there's our actual interest. We have made over 50% interest on our money. So that's how you calculate future value. And as I just showed you, no matter which four of these you have, you can always calculate the fifth one. So you can calculate for future value, or if you know future value, you can calculate your overall interest rate. So 12% preferred return plus profit share came out to be a 50.4% interest rate. It's a pretty good return on your money. Banks are going to give you that. I'll give you that. So this is the deal we have right now. And if you want to know more about how to do this, just email me offline. Let me know if you're interested. I'll show you how to do it. And we'll send you the pro forma. The next one is discounting. So that's how you compound. That's it. What's the future value? What could it be? Discounting is the opposite. You take something in the future and you bring it back to present, called, what should I pay for this? You know, I have a book I wrote called, What's That Property Really Worth? This CE course that's approved by the Texas Real Estate Commission. You can take it, get credit. And it's all about how to attach value to the asset. So again, to me, it's in two parts. One is attaching value, and then after you go through the process, you measure the returns. You calculate them before you make your acquisition, but as you go through it, and then you go through the disposition of the sales process, and you unload the right thing, then you gotta go do your calculations and see how far off you are. Did you hit it? Did it exceed your expectations? Did you come up short? I mean, what went wrong? What'd you do? How you do it? What could you do better next time? So now I'm gonna figure out, okay, let's say on this thing, we find this property. It's a land deal. We think it's worth 1.3 million 3 years from now. What should we pay? Well, that's the $64,000 question, right? Actually, it's the $1.3 million question. So let's do the same thing, only instead of compounding, we're going to discount that 1.3 back to the present. So we'll use the same T-bar, and it's got the five categories. You have time, you have present value or initial investment, you got the payment, which there won't be any of, then future value and interest. So if you think this property is going to be worth 1.3 million 3 years from now, you want a 10% return, you're not going to make any payments on it, just going to hold it. What would the present value of it be? What should we pay? So let's do it. Sports fans, let's go. Check this. Still one payment per year. I hope you can see this. 3, that's the problem with beyond this. I'm talking to a piece of plastic. I don't even know who you are, who's on here, what is even happening. I'm just going through my motions. So I wish there was a feedback mechanism. Unfortunately, there's not. So anyway, we go 3 in. Just go with it, honey. The next one is interest per year. We're looking for 10, so we're going to plug that in there. We don't know our present value. That's the question. Our payments are 0, so we're going to be going 0 payment. And then the future value is 1.3 million, right? So we put 1.3 future value, and then we solve for present value. And it looks like we pay $976,709. Future value converted to discounted to present value. So again, if you find this tract and you think it's worth 1.3, you want a 10% return, you're gonna hold it for 3 years, that's what you pay for it. That's compounding and discounting. That's how they work. So next time you find a piece of property, go through this process. If you have any questions, just call me or email me. info@buildmyrebusiness.com. So this is what we teach at the Real Estate Business School. Real estate's a business, it's not a career. If you don't treat it like a business and run it like a business, you're out of business. But to me, you take your business, there's 3 steps. Get your license, build your business, invest your profits. The wealth in real estate is in owning it, not listing it and selling it to someone else for shekels. Okay? It's like tip money, right? I mean, you get 3%, you pay your wait staff 20. And you're working for 3. Stop working for tips. So here's what happens, right? So people want to save their money because they don't want to lose it because it's too much work. Most people want to get rich till they find out how much work is involved. Most of them lose interest shortly thereafter. So that's it. That's the lesson for today. Compounding and discounting and time value of money. How do they work? How do you use them? What's the definition? What do they tell us? And what this tells you is if you pay any more than this, then you're paying too much. That's it. It's Wednesday. I'm Wayne. I'll end the way I started. Thank you for your time. I hope you found it well spent. I'll see you next week. I have another tip for you. We'll go through this week by week, step by step. And each week I'll give you one little piece of information where hopefully if you pull us together, you'll be able to go through these calculations fairly simply and learn how to mitigate risk and maximize your returns and turn all those people who say you can't do it into liars. So thank you so much. Get one of these, okay? HP10B2. Best investment you can make. Thanks again for your time. I'll see you next week.